want to talk to Andrew Reiner about Pokemon Go Fest.
Oh, man. What a good time.
Okay, so this is the first annual Pokemon Go Fest. You drove down to Chicago, right?
With my family, because they play the game too. And I thought, I'm going to write this narrative of being at this family event. It's a family-friendly gaming event, the first I've come across.
Hey, Reiner, tell me, was your daughter looking forward to playing some
She
Pokemon
was, actually.
Go?
She digs it. She's good at it.
Look, your daughter's very smart. But what does it mean to be good at Pokemon
Go? She can do the curveball.
Oh, all right.
Throw it.
All right.
Wow.
She knows about berries and all that stuff. She's on top of it.
I was trying to set the stage to make it extra disappointing because when a kid's expectations are on the line, then it's extra sad.
we packed up like the wagon, a covered wagon for her.
Granny on top.
Everything. Yeah, everything you would bring on a family trip. And oh my God, like it delivered. I mean, it was exactly what I wanted from a Pokemon Go event.
It was like a physical manifestation of the quality of the app and overall experience.
At launch, when it didn't work.
So set this up. So how many people are there? Where is it?
Yeah, so it's, I will walk you through the whole thing here.
Please.
So we got into Chicago the day before the event on Friday. 1 day festival, that's it. And it's in Grant Park in Chicago. If you know that area, it's right on the waterfront there, next to Millennium Park, all that stuff. Beautiful, huge space, perfect for this, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a big open field, kind of a tree-covered area. You know, it has kind of all the walks of life that you want from Pokemon. You got the water, you got all that stuff, right? So we got there the day before, and that night, Kelly, Evie, and I decided to go out into the park, outside of the festival grounds, and just start playing a little bit, right?
Sure.
So we went out there, started catching Pokemon. All of a sudden, the game kind of started to slow down. And as I'm looking around, I see other people walking around with phones with cables going into their pocket with their, rechargeable batteries. It's like they're playing. And then you start seeing Charmander shirts, Pikachu hats, all that stuff. There's a good, 3 dozen people out there playing. And all of a sudden the app starts crashing. And I was like, this isn't good. This is the night before the festival. And there's hardly anybody in the park, considering the festival is expecting 20,000 people.
20,000.
Yeah. In under a mile radius. So
can you tell me what kind of stuff they'd like to lure 20,000 people?
Okay.
Lure. What did they, what were people expecting? What did they say you get for going?
Sure. So they promised that, there would be Pokemon that have never spawned in the Chicago area before. And one of the images they teased was Heracross, which is one you could only get like South America, above the equator, a little bit into Florida.
Okay.
So that was a pretty big deal for people in the Midwest, right? Yeah. But then also that the first legendary was going to be there. And we had to catch enough Pokemon in the park to lure out the legendary beast. And then if we defeated the beast in the park, it would be unleashed upon the world. So there was like some high stakes there for people that are trying to catch them all.
Of course.
This is a pretty big deal.
What about the unknown? Was that also a thing there?
They did not say that going into it, but unknown was common. He's the hardest Pokemon to find in the game.
Okay.
Does not spawn anywhere. There's no nests, anything like that. It's just the odds of him popping up are probably like 1 in, a million or something like that. I'm not even exaggerating.
Wait, but people have caught unknowns.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But, it's the odds of it being there just
there's not a regular place where you can get him. It's just sort of a really small chance per spawn or something like that.
But that night, I was so worried by what was going on because the game kept crashing after every 30 seconds, 40 seconds of being in the app. We couldn't play it anymore. So we went back to the hotel and I was like, Kelly, I got to write a story. So I wrote a story that stability fears hang over Pokemon Go Fest, the day before the festival story.
Yeah.
I wrote it all up and I text Brian Shea. This is Friday night. And I was like, dude, can you look at something for me? Like, I don't know if I'm fear mongering here. I'm a little worried. I'm kind of going out of my way here. And he's like, okay, yeah. And I was like, well, before you do that, let me reach out to Niantic and see if they're doing anything, if they're going to have Wi-Fi or anything like that. So I reached out to PR and they said, oh yeah, we're on top of it. We have cell towers coming in. Service providers are going to amp up their coverage in the area. And I was like, okay, I'm going to squash my story because it kind of reads like fear mongering, right?
Okay.
And it's me just in the park. I talked to people in the park as well that were having similar issues.
Yeah.
But the event hasn't properly started, so it's hard
exactly.
to...
The next morning I got to the event an hour early. We were let into the park. Press was let into the park an hour early, just kind of set up camp and all that stuff. I'm able to play the game a little, yet it hasn't like officially started, but it's still really slow.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a couple thousand people in line circling the venue. And I was like, okay, well, maybe they haven't turned on the boost yet, because like it's not really working right now. And it's only going to get worse when more people come into the festival. And sure enough, like as soon as like the first, I don't know, 300-400 people came in, it was crashing every 15 seconds. I spun one stop. I did not catch a Pokemon since the festival started. And if I didn't spin that stop, I wouldn't have been able to scan the QR code needed to kind of unlock the festival bonuses, which is the unknowns and all those unique beasts. A lot of people could not get that thing to spin at all.
So it was a push just to confirm that you were there within
exactly.
the app.
And from there on in, it crashed every 15 seconds or didn't even let me in. And an hour into the festival, people are still rolling in. They're rolling in all the way from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And it maxed out at like 20,000, just over 20,000 from what I hear. But nobody could play the game. Like people on Sprint were kind of getting in.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask. So it's a little bit different for every carrier.
Yep, but it was locking up like you wouldn't believe. And then people like said, if you go over in the west corner AT&T Wi-Fi, you can kind of get in. But, you know, once more people migrated that way, once they heard that, then it just shut down again. But an hour into the festival, John Hankey, the CEO of Niantic, took to the stage and they said, you know, like, they're like the announcing's like all enthusiastic, like this festival atmosphere.
You be the announcer. The three of us will be the crowd.
All right, now welcome John Hankey. So yeah, he comes out to boo, like
everybody.
Loud roar of boos, and he's just like, "Hey, welcome to Chicago, everyone." More booing. He kind of looks down at his feet and his cue cards, and you could tell he's kind of like, "Oh man, this is happening." And then I don't know what he's thinking. He's like, "Hey, there's sunshine. Let's give it up for sunshine," or something like that.
What can we possibly applaud that will get the crowd behind us?
And some people mockingly were like, "Yeah." But then at that point, the chant of "Fix the game" started. And I captured footage of that, and that went on for a bit, and people just screaming they can't play, middle fingers being flashed. And then he's kind of like, "I heard you can't get in. We're working on it." At that point, I was supposed to have an interview a half hour later. That got pushed back to 2. That never happened because they never stabilized the game. The next thing that ended up happening is another person from Niantic took the stage and said that they're going to give everybody a refund and $100 of in-game coins.
Now, looking at the video, he also said, "We've narrowed it to 3 major problems."
That's right. It was, what was it? Service?
Yeah.
Crash bugs, and authentication errors.
So 2 were on Niantic.
That's the whole game.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the whole game, basically.
Also, programming, graphics, and Pokemon.
Yeah, turns out
General
Pokemon was a big
gameplay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we knew in the press area, like, because there was press Wi-Fi. So that was the only Wi-Fi in the whole park. So we knew, like, we got on that Wi-Fi, we could do our work and everything, but the game just kept crashing. So on their end, their servers were just getting crushed. So there was no way that thing was coming back up. We knew that. And they eventually realized, like, this is going to turn into a riot. And we're like looking out like, anybody see a police officer anywhere? And it was like just security, like arena security in purple shirts, maybe 4 of them I counted.
Oh. Wait, I think there's one over
people.
there. Oh, that's Officer Jenny cosplay. That doesn't count. Okay.
Here's the other thing about this festival. There was nothing to do outside of catch Pokemon, which is the main draw, right? If it worked, that would be cool.
Yeah.
But they had tents set up for each of the 3 teams with concessions in an area to sit, but that could fit maybe 100, 200 in there.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it is just you're out in the scorching heat. There was no, like, the store had barely anything in it. A shirt for each team, that little Pokewalker device.
Yeah.
Nothing really to buy. No toys, no stuffed animals, nothing like that. Like that and alone, I was like shocked by. I was like, man, that's a blown opportunity for them. They could have made bank here. And then food trucks for, maybe that would better be suited for like 200 people. Not 20,000.
Holy God. It's just like a year. Look, I was really captivated by Pokemon Go last year. The fact that we're in a year in, there's still no one-to-one battles, no trading, for the love of Christ. It is unforgivably shitty.
Yeah.
And the idea
terrible.
to cap off this 1-year celebration with 20,000 people, come on down. and just one of the biggest whiffs in convention history. Like, I mean, I don't know.
But also consistent with what people expect from Pokemon Go, which is just basic non-functionality.
Yeah, in my tenure, I put this next to like the N-Gage press conference where they had the woman come out and lift up her shirt with the price point for the N-Gage on her chest.
Yikes.
That was like, that's where this is sitting for me. And the last thing they did, knowing like this is going to get super ugly, is someone at Niantic wisely said, you know what, we can expand the range of the bonuses that are tied to the festival. So they did that. They did a 2-mile radius in Chicago.
So you could spread out.
So everybody could spread out and actually play the game. But at any given time, if someone went to a gym for a raid of one of the legendary bosses, which they just unleashed, they said, since nobody could catch anything, so that whole event never took place, the game would crash again. Like if there was like 50 to 100 people in an area, it was like, good luck unless you're on Sprint. It was kind of the atmosphere there. But also spreading out 2 miles in Chicago, you got to be careful. Like
it's a hell of a convention. Let's all just spread out throughout the city and convention.
And people are looking at their phones. People are looking at their phones. The streets are busy. It's like, I hope everybody was safe, but that was their solution, was originally come together. Then it was disperse.
Joe, as a fan of just laughing at people and feeling a good I don't know, schadenfreude and whatnot, have you watched that cringe cut that's on YouTube yet of this festival and the highlights?
No.
There's a 6-minute video or so that when John Hanke from Niantic walks out on stage, that's one of the roughest things, honestly, I think I've ever seen in the game industry. Like, just the look on his face, with a sea of 20,000 people booing him and just feeling that, this is on us.
He came out, his smile, like, he was like, this is it. This is the big crowning achievement at Pokemon Go. And in a step is just like, oh my God, this is the worst thing. I shouldn't be out here.
It honestly sounds like a money laundering scheme, honestly.
I don't know what's happening. How do you account for this, Reiner?
I don't know. I mean, they can never do this again. The game is not built for it. It at this point, it isn't. That they have this grand vision for this, right? This is what we want our game to be, but their tech is just not there. And it's very clear.
They've had a year. They shouldn't have released it last year to begin with.
It took them 6 months to somewhat stabilize just that base experience. For them to think they could pull this off, I don't know who's not talking to the programming team in the decision-making area. Like, there is some lack of communication going on here.
I think they have just too much money shoved in their ears so they can't hear the programming team saying, everything's on fire, stop,
But shame on them for not doing the proper testing of any kind, because I talked to a family from Los Angeles. I wanted to get a picture of them for GI Spy for the magazine.
Yeah.
Because they were all decked out in Mystic gear and they were cute as all get out. This family of 5 flew in from Los Angeles, spent thousands of dollars. They love this game like nobody's business. Crushed. Absolutely crushed by what was going on. They probably enjoyed the last bit of it over the next couple of days, being able to go out in Chicago and experience the game.
Yeah.
But I mean, just having that family go around Chicago, I'd be worried, just like keeping tabs on everyone. Whereas the festival is kind of a safe environment where everybody's together.
Yeah.
But at least they were able probably to get their rewards and all that stuff.
Well, and at least $100 of in-game currency.
And it should have been, that should have been 1,000. That should have been 1,000.
Why not?
It's fake money for Niantic. 100 is nothing.
I bet they do it again next year.
It's Monopoly money.
Do you think that they're going to do it again next year?
Oh, they will. Because the press release they sent out right afterwards was like, hey, we fixed all the technical problems. It's like, no, you didn't.
They're going to do it again next year, and it is going to be just as bad.
Unforgivable.
Yeah.
Yeah, so as a gamer, it was terrible to go to, but as a journalist, it was like, oh my God, this is an amazing story to tell.
Yeah.
Because it is just a disaster.
And you wrote about it for the upcoming issue.
I did. Yeah, I got a nice little write-up in there.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for watching this excerpt from the Game Informer Show podcast. You can subscribe to the audio version and listen to new episodes airing every Thursday. We cover big games on the horizon, games that we've just reviewed. We have long-form developer interviews, a lot of fun stuff. So check it out every Thursday.